Afternoon, folks. It's me again, Shannon Fox here, Devoted Patriots 2 channel. Just sitting out here on the porch, grilling a little food out here, doing a little barbecuing, doing the 4th of July thing, drinking a couple of beers, just relaxing, enjoying the day, and to go watch the fireworks show tonight, which I'm sure a lot of you probably will too. I'm not talking about the left-wing craziness going on in some of our big cities today, but I'm talking about real fireworks down at the river. Hopefully you'll get to partake in such a thing. I do want to hope everybody, I hope everybody stays safe and stays away from big crowds. There's been some ugly things already happened this weekend I'm not going to talk about right now. I'm going to stay on a cherry moment. But I just hope everybody watches this video to the end. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you've probably seen this. I've put it up in the past, but this is actually a full version. It's about why we kneel for God and stand for that flag, and why we don't kneel for that flag or that anthem. Got my flag here, 4th of July. I'm a proud American, like every one of my listeners. I consider you all patriots. That's one of the reasons I named my channel what I did. Is I feel like if you're listening on YouTube to find your news, because you know mainstream media is lying to you, you qualify as a patriot. That alone lets me know. If you're listening to me or any of my buddies, William Archibald, David Cowley, Matt in Exile, if you're listening to me or any of my buddies for your daily content, it's because you want the truth. And you don't want to be fed this lying garbage coming from the left, from most of the mainstream media that pump it. But enough about that. Got my 1776 shirt on today, just because I want to let everybody know I'm proud to be an American. And I know the reason that this flag stands for what it does is because the people that have fought and died and served this country, I'm talking about all your veterans, all the way back to the Minutemen, to the very first Continental Militia that was formed here in the United States, before it was the United States, in order to fight off the tyrants at the time, which was England. I actually know quite a bit about this because I like history and war and things of that nature, but that's another story. But I just want to say this: there's always a tyrant at the door knocking, trying to get in, trying to find a way to jerry-rig the lock and break in, burglarize something, whether it be elections or your economy or whatever it be. And so we've got to stand vigilant and strong, like those people did in 1776, and fought for our country and run the English out of our country, because they were treating us like third-class citizens, wanting to tax us for taxation with no representation is what was going on, and we got tired of it. We stood up against it, and we kicked them out of our country, and we got our own independence, our own freedom in 1776. That's why this flag is such an important emblem. It's not just a flag. It represents what our country is all about. The people that stand in the gap to do their part each and every day in their own way to try to make this country a better place. And that goes all the way back to the beginning of the founding of this country. And for those that haven't seen this video, watch it. Those that have seen it, watch it again. You may need a tissue. Puts a big old lump in my throat every time. I love it so much. I love my country so much. It's definitely heartwarming to hear this video. Being 4th of July, it's a perfect video. As far as I'm concerned, let everybody know it's not just about hot dogs and fireworks. It's about what it took to bring our country to a place where we had freedom, where we have independence, where we have equality, and all the things that come along with this entitled life of being an American. A lot of people don't realize how much they take for granted because they are born in a free country. And I know it don't seem like it's always free at times. It's actually quite expensive at times, especially lately, but that's a whole nother story. But I just want to say God bless America. Proud of this flag, proud to have all my listeners. Today is July 4th, and I've been doing my podcast channel for 1 year. YouTube knocked out my first channel But my second channel, which is the one here, is doing as well as the first channel did, so I'm happy with that. But today is actually a 1-year anniversary for me doing the podcasting. Stepped in, just didn't have a clue as to what I was doing 1 year ago today, just because I care about my country, and I care to try to get the message of truth out, and hopefully can bring a little information and insight, and hopefully a little encouragement to all those that don't know. We do live in a free country. It's just a matter of time. We're going to make America great again. So check out this video, Star Spangled video, the story of why, where the song comes from, and why we don't kneel for that flag. Like, subscribe, and share to vote to Patriots. Have a happy 4th of July. Over and out.
There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the national anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule. Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, "Men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch." As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, "Tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us." 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling, every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, "It's still up. It's not down." The admiral came and he said, "Your people are insane." He said, "What's the matter with them?" He said, "Don't they understand this is an impossible situation?" Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees. The admiral said, "We have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down." He said, "We don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that." But he said, "Now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point." Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, "God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it." Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?" The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early twilight, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets sprayed clear, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?